Tell me what is happening both immediately and in general in ELEX.
Okay, so just where we are at the moment. It's a post-apocalyptic world, so the basic story is meteor crashed onto planet, destroyed almost everything. But with it, a substance called ELEX came to the planet, and that then changed everything. Because with ELEX, if you consume it, you develop magical powers. You can use it to make weapons. You can use it to operate large machines on it. And it's also the currency, for example, in this world. So basically, dangerous world, and everybody's after that element ELEX. We've got a simulated game world. That means that we don't rely on scripting that much, but most of it is driven by AI. We've got one big game world, so once we throw you in, you won't see any loading screen whatsoever. So any point on the horizon that you can see, you can actually really go there.
Right.
There's different ways of going through this world, and also then if you use the jetpack, with the jetpack you can really reach any point in the game world.
Right.
The game is very much about freedom, so we have a class-free RPG system. You can go anywhere you want. You can use the jetpack to get anywhere. We've got a huge selection of weapons. So, for example, if you can show a little bit of the sword fighting here, or if you can go back and fight a couple of monsters.
I seem to be a one-sided fight.
Sword fighting is one of the main fighting styles in the game. But we've also got, of course, then ranged combat. The good thing about our setting is that it allows us to have a really very, very broad range of weapons. So sword with shield, just a sword with a chainsaw attached to it, shotguns, flamethrowers, grenade launchers.
Right.
Everything's in there.
So you're actually seeing some of that AI here, right? Because that lizard creature is not on your side, but not helping them either.
Yeah, right. So basically, every character in the game has a faction, and those factions have relationships. And some of these people just wander around the world, and whenever they meet a monster, they're gonna kill it, for example. And so we never know whether a monster is really somewhere, because the whole world is simulated at all times.
Right.
There's also a full RPG here, so you, for doing quests and killing monsters, you get experience points, you level up, crafting, enchanting weapons, learning lots of skills, lots of skill trees are here. So basically everything you'd expect from a role-playing game, an open world, it's in the game. And we also want to, what is important for us is that the mechanics of the game are not just there as role-playing mechanics, but we want to combine them with the narrative. So for example, to learn skills, you have to go to teachers, but they won't just teach you things like that, but you have to do stuff for them before that. And so, yeah, we just combine the whole story and the whole role-playing game system.
Given that it's a sandbox and AI-driven world, how do you introduce, I guess in the first case, quests to that, like structured challenges to the player, but also a storyline, a critical path? How does that all fold together?
Well, you can kill almost every NPC in the game world,
right?
And the story will adapt to that.
Okay.
And here you can also see guys fighting the monsters.
Yeah, and losing.
Yeah, and also here you can see the death of Bombi will change the story.
That was a named character?
Yeah, that was a named character.
Bombi's dead now?
Yeah, Bombi's dead now, but the game still goes on.
Oh no.
Yeah, that will then, in the end, it will lead to different endings, of course, depending on what you do. There's a handful of characters in the game that you can't kill. Otherwise, it will just be the story of a mass murderer in a world with raptors.
That's a story.
Yeah, that's a story. Yeah,
not
the most interesting one. But yeah, so there's a handful of characters you can't kill, but everybody else, all the side quest NPCs, you can kill.
It looked like, Bombi, rest in peace, he was going to get killed by that dinosaur even if you hadn't stepped in and hit him with a mace, right?
Most likely, yeah.
So then that sort of thing can happen in the open world as well, right? So.
Yeah, but usually they only start fighting if you come near it. So we have to. Otherwise, if you just stand somewhere and you wait for not long enough, everybody will be dead.
Yeah.
No, but
that's pretty deep and dark. So yeah, no, that's.
But there's a lot of story in here. So we've got around 300,000 words of spoken dialogue.
Oh, wow.
For the last 3 months, we've been in the studio here in London for voice recording, for the English voice recording. So you're looking at around 60 hours of gameplay, more or less, depending on how you play. You've also got skills like hacking. So, for example, you can open the safe either by getting finding the code, or talking to somebody who has the code, or just using your hacking skills. And that's also the way how we can kill almost every NPC. So there's always a way to solve the quests by using your own skill, finding somebody else to do the job, or then looting, for example, the thing that we have. Here, for example, we have the Alps. That's one of the factions in the game. So we have 4 factions. The one are the Berserkers. They believe that going back to nature and not using any technology, that's the future. Then you've got the Clerics. They believe that technology, that's the future of the planet. You've got the Outlaws, who are just doing drugs and don't believe in anything, just having a good time. And you've got the Alps. The Alps, they want all the ELEX in the world, and for that they build big converters where they throw everything living into it and squeeze the ELEX out of them, so they're the bad guys.
Right.
And the player character is actually one of them in the beginning, but he gets shot down. And one thing I forgot to mention is when you consume ELEX, it gives you all these magical powers, but the downside is that you lose all your emotions.
Okay.
And so in the beginning, he's one of the bad guys. He gets shot down, and while he's lying there in the sun, the ELEX is leaving the system, and when he wakes up, he feels his emotions for the first time in his life.
Right.
And that's when the game starts, basically.
So is there a fixed protagonist for ELEX? Is it always the character we're seeing here? Okay.
Yeah. It's a little bit like The Witcher. So we really want to tell the story of this guy here. So it's a fixed character, but depending on which faction you choose, you will get very, very different outfits and armors and stuff like that. Because, like I said, so we have the Berserkers are like the fantasy faction. They can use magic. The Outlaws, they're the ones who use conventional weapons like the shotguns, flamethrower, all that stuff. And you've got the Clerics, who are the high-tech blaster weapon thing. So depending on who you choose, you will get different sets of armor, and your character will look very, very differently depending on your choice.
Is that intended to match certain play styles as well? Like if you're interested in more of the magic stuff, for example, then you should follow that faction.
Exactly, yeah. The Berserkers, they found a way to transmute ELEX into mana, and that they're using it to cast their magic, basically. And it also, they use world hearts, so they feed plants with mana, and that then changes the surroundings of these world hearts, and they change everything back to green and lush. Because ELEX is cold, so wherever there's a lot of ELEX, there's snow, there's ice.
Interesting.
The Berserkers are basically the worst enemy of the Alps, who want to just freeze everything, and they're going back to bring it back.
So we talk about freezing everything. You're running away, Florian, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we go.
And that really, really changes how you run through the game world, because also the speed-wise. Because usually, if you've got a mountain and you want down in a regular game, you have to just run down like that.
That's exactly.
And here you just jump. So that makes it already much, much faster. You've also got fast travel teleporters basically throughout the world. So whenever you come to a new region, you can unlock the teleporter, and through that you can run through the home or go very, very quickly through the whole game world. You will also have your a base, basically your own base building, where you meet also your companions. So there's companions in the game, up to 6. You can always take one with you, and they're very different in terms of skills and how they can help you actually. And they also have their own personalities. So depending on what you do, they will either like it or not like it.
Right.
And depending on that, if they really, really like what you're doing, there could be a romance. or if they don't like what you're doing at all, they will leave your party as well. So we just wanted to give them a real, they shouldn't just feel like another weapon, but really like personality.
How given that most of what we've seen, we're now in a settlement, but like most of what we've seen so far has been open world, how important are cities and settlements to the game, or do you spend most of your time out there in the wilderness?
I wouldn't say that it's that one is more important than the other.
Right.
But for example, the eye reacts very, very differently in outside and inside a city. For example, inside a city, you're not allowed to steal, to murder, and if somebody sees you stealing something, you'll be known as a thief, and that guy will then run to the chieftain and tell him that you're now known as and then you'll either have to pay or they'll send bounty hunters after you.
Right.
But you can always get out of that, of course, by just paying your share. But outside of cities, you can take whatever you want. There's martial law.
And presumably kill whoever you want.
Yeah. You can also do that inside a city, but the whole city will be after you.
So you're not going to join the outlaw faction?
Well,
they're not happy about that.
And here you have, just saw the tag with jetpack, so you can use it in battle as well. It took us quite some time to get the whole balancing right, because if you could fly for too long, then you could just shoot out of the air everybody. But because it's time limited, it works pretty well. And of course, you need to hold the key, click, so it's also a challenge to actually
I was playing earlier and somehow managed to kill myself with a grenade launcher while flying.
There's fall damage, so it's still dangerous.
So you've just killed some people with a chainsaw. Oh, that was close. Drinking.
To show off the falling damage.
That was very finely judged, sir. You know exactly how far you could fall and not die. So the characters you just killed, they belong to one of the factions relative to the others, or?
Outside the city, they belong to a faction, but it won't matter that it killed them because they don't have contact with their home city. Inside the city, like I said, it's a different story.
So are these the Berserker faction?
No, that's a traveling merchant.
Oh, okay. Just very naturesy to me.
Yeah, they run through the whole world, but of course he's got guards with you, or with him, because otherwise you will get killed.
Yeah. Well, like poor Bombi.
Very, 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 very quickly. I'd like to say, so this is one of the game world regions, Abassa, that's in the center of it, basically. You've got Idan, that's the fantasy-like region. Then you've got Tavar, that's the desert. Personally, it reminds me a little bit of Mad Max.
Right.
So
that kind of post-apocalypse,
exactly. And then you've got Xacor, which is the icy north, where the Alps live. And there's another region where the clerics are, and that's where the comet crashed. So there's a lot of volcanic stuff there.
Right.
So you will have both visually and gameplay-wise, they play very, very different.
So it is a post-apocalyptic and a futuristic setting, but it's not an apocalypse in Earth, right? It's not set.
No. The planet is called Magellan.
Right.
And it is very Earth-like, but it's not Earth. We just didn't want to restrict ourselves to. I remember that.
No half-destroyed Statue of Liberty sticking out the ground.
Exactly. Yeah. So we wanted to have that freedom to design a world that works perfectly for the game and not be limited for that. In this demo, we can't go inside, but
we can see a little bit. Yeah. So is that the city entirely under the dome that you can see from the distance? The end of the demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get out, because otherwise it will stop. There's a whole story about this dome, and there will be maybe an uprising there. So
maybe.
Well, depending on what you do.
Well, people are going to be upset when they find out that Bombi's dead. That's all I know. So out in the world, you mentioned crafting and a lot of gear systems, and I've seen as you've been running around the opportunity to gather resources and that kind of thing. Is that, I guess, more like the sort of open world RPG traditional sort of set of processes? How is the kind of the new sci-fi setting informed that kind of thing?
Well, we have both. We have both the fantasy stuff, so you can enchant stuff, you can put in jewels to improve weapons, and you can also then use technology to actually improve all the stuff. So, like I say, it's really we have both. But crafting and finding stuff, exploration in general, is a very big thing in the game. Just the size of the game world is so big that you can find a lot of stuff there. You can then craft healing potions with all the plants you can find. So
you're using a black hole spell there to
that's
to try and slow this troll down. It didn't seem to work. You come back to the chainsaw.
Chainsaw always works.
Yeah, chainsaw always works. Manipulating gravity, that's a situational use, but chainsaw, always useful. Always useful. So in terms of, I know that it isn't a, like the level, it's not a level scaled game, so as you travel around the world, you may well encounter things that are too tough for you, right?
Absolutely.
I played a little bit earlier, things started well, and then I was killed by a velociraptor, and that was me.
As long as you stay on the roads, you're safe, basically, but as soon as you just go off and do whatever you want, then there's the danger that you just meet monsters that are too high. That is harsh, but on the other hand, when you die and then you load and you get better and then you come back, and then you kill the monster. You've got a much better sense of progress actually, because you really feel, okay, now I'm strong enough to kill that monster. It's also they don't respawn, so the world is what it is.
So everything that's going to be in the world is there at the beginning.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also we're really open world. We take that really literally. So when you start the game, you could run for half an hour in one direction and start your game there. So any NPC that you meet could be the first NPC you're actually talking to.
Okay.
So it's really open world as open world should be.
Right. Does the critical path, the main story, then take you back through specific places, or is it more that you kind of find your own way into it through?
You find your own way. There's some points in the story that you will go through the main story, but everything around that is completely up to you. You will have to join one of the factions at some point, for example. But this could be in hour 2 of your game or in hour 20 of your game.
Right.
So you can try out every faction before you actually make the decision, or you just go in and say, no, the outlaws, the stims, the camps, that's my thing.
Right. I want the magic drugs.
Yeah.
So this is an alpha build of the game.
Yeah.
I understand that you're still a fair way away. Where would you say the game is at in terms of its production?
We've been in alpha for some time now, so the game is scheduled for release later this year. Like I said, we've already got the voice over recordings done, but it's a huge world, so it needs a lot of polishing. But we think we will be done later this year.
Great. Guys, thank you so